Today I'm going to be telling you about my lesson plan, Voting Rights in America, Understanding Through Graphic Novels, and this is a lesson that follows the HRL format. So, as I said, the title of my lesson plan is Voting Rights in America, Understanding Through Graphic Novels, and I chose to teach this lesson to 12th graders because they are the closest to eligible voting age, although it could be taught to any grades 9th through 12th. The length of the lesson is 9 days, assuming class periods are 40 minutes in length. That's what my high school had, so that's what I chose for this. And the student background is flexible based on whatever classroom you do have, depending on the diversity or lack thereof. It can be adjusted for whatever your classroom looks like. And the learning goals are categorized by identity, skills, intellect, and criticality. And I basically focused on knowing how to vote, how to become an informed voter, and understanding the history of voting. So moving on, we're looking at the texts and vocabulary for this lesson. So I've got 3 graphic novels listed there at the top: Drawing the Vote, History Smashers, and American Politics, and those are talking about the history of voting, voter suppression, things like that. And then the rest of the sources include a couple political cartoons. There is history of voter suppression articles and how it impacts people in this country. There are a couple websites to learn how to vote and who to vote for. And then I also included a source on voting vocabulary, and that's kind of the jumping off point for my vocab because I just listed a few terms, but then the voting vocabulary website is really where the bulk of the vocabulary is going to be. Something that I tried to do throughout my lessons and in this lesson is create creative engagement in the body of the lesson. So the student spark for this activity is a simulated election, which I think is going to be really fun. You can see the description written above. And for the first day, it's going to be the simulated election. Students will participate in that, and then a discussion will follow about the election. For day 2, we're going to do readers theater with the graphic novels, and I chose to do readers theater and a couple other activities throughout this lesson because they are recommended from that Clark and Whitney article that we looked at earlier in the semester, and I always think that's a great resource for figuring out really interesting ways to get students engaged. On day 3 of this lesson, we will be reading the book History Smashers under the projector as a class, and following that, students will spend the rest of class time creating a diary entry from one of the perspectives of the women that we read about in the book. On day 4, we will take time as a class to look at the political cartoon, The Man Who Stole Your Vote, and then following that, there's going to be independent research about political cartoons and comics, and then they'll discuss with a partner after they figure out their own political cartoon. Day 5 of this lesson, students will be doing independent research about the history of voter suppression with the article provided as guidance. Following that, they will be looking up instances of voter suppression in America and then creating an illustration that shows what happened in a specific instance of voter suppression. On day 6, we will read as a class pages from the graphic novel Drawing the Vote. And following that reading, students will be tasked with exploring the I Side With and Know Your Vote websites so they can understand how to navigate and use those websites when it comes time for them to research candidates. On day 7, the first half of the class will be viewing the video How to Have Difficult Conversations by Mel Robbins so that they have a better understanding of how to have those sometimes difficult political conversations. And after that video, students will explore the vote.org website so that they can have an understanding of how to vote by mail, vote in person, and vote wherever they are. So day 8 of the lesson plan is going to be an assessment period workday, which I will talk about in just a moment. Day 9, the first half of the class will be spent discussing the graphic novels that students have now finished reading. And the second half of the class, we will be revisiting the simulated election just to see maybe how the vote changes, how the results of the election change after completing this unit. The closure of this lesson plan is the revisitation of the simulated election, and the assessment for this specific unit is going to be a 2-page comic, a 3-minute script, or a 2-minute digital story, so long as the student can demonstrate their understanding of the content presented in the lesson. And the threshold concepts that I included for this lesson that I feel like it fills specifically are education is not neutral, teaching is political, Teaching and learning honors people's full humanity, and curriculum is co-constructed. I feel like those are the three that really are embodied the most in this lesson plan. I hope you enjoyed my lesson, and thank you for tuning in.